Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. And because Addison Rae's debut album is imminent, it is coming out this Friday, I needed to do a deep dive on her Rebrand because I deem it to be one of the most successful content creator to singer transformations of all time. We see it all the time in the social media world with people who make content, attempt to break into the music industry, and most of the time it does not go very well.
But sometimes I don't wanna be happy.
There are a few very big success stories: Shawn Mendes, Troye Sivan, Conan Gray. However, with the new age of TikTok, I think it's become even harder, and Addison has done this flawlessly. So I wanted to explore how we got here because I'm so excited for this project. It is one of my most anticipated albums of the year, and if you would have told me that years and years ago when I first saw Addison dancing on TikTok, I literally would have laughed in your face. So let's get into it. I have this video broken into 4 separate sections, starting with the early years, which is how she got into social media in the first place and how her rise to TikTok began. So let's throw it back to 2019. The overarching idea from this is Addison actually dropped out of LSU in the fall of 2019, right around Thanksgiving break, to move to LA to pursue content creation full time. She downloaded the TikTok app in July of 2019, and that is where she first started to post videos. Back then, TikTok was really just posting lip sync videos and dances. There wasn't a lot to it. They had just bought Musicality in 2018, so it was the beginning of this platform. And that is why we see a lot of like legacy TikTokers blow up so quickly, because they started posting really frequently at a time where not many people were doing that on TikTok, and they had this meteoric rise to fame. Addison said that her first taste of virality was that summer, a few weeks after she got the app, when she posted a lip syncing video to a popular audio that popped off with over 50,000 likes in a day.
I just want to say thanks to you. My hair grew back. I look like a flute. And
She began to get followers really quickly, and at that moment she didn't want to stop. So she began to post consistently, really leaning into the trending audios at the time. She realized dances were the videos that went the most viral on her account and really leaned into that, which truly springboarded her career as a creator, working with brands like Abercrombie and L'Oreal super quickly. Like, we don't see that type of meteoric rise anymore like we used to on TikTok with these early creators like an Addison, a Charlie, a Lil Huddy. But at that time, Addison realized that even though her reach was small compared to what it is now, she felt like this was her springboard into the entertainment industry. As I mentioned, Addison was enrolled at LSU, majoring in broadcast journalism, so a dream that she always had for herself was to be on television or in the entertainment industry. She wanted to first be a sports broadcaster. However, after getting to college, she realized that maybe it wasn't for her. A big moment in this was her not making the LSU Tiger Girls dance team, which is super famous, but she tried out the beginning of her freshman year and didn't make the team, and she really had to reassess her goals. In October of that year, she hit 1 million followers, so downloading the app in July and hitting 1 million in October is crazy. That is super quick, and decided the following month to just move to Los Angeles. I do want to say I find it super interesting that back then people were blowing up really quickly, again, in a way we do not see today. I think it really was because back then we were really gravitating to like the boy/girl next door type. The dancing, the lip syncing, they really got in early on the platform, and people really gravitated to those types of creators. We can see all of those OG TikTokers kind of did the same thing, but they had this similar like naive nature about them, I guess. I don't know how to describe it, but it was kind of this very similar archetype with all of these people that really blew them up. With all that being said, she moved to Los Angeles right before Thanksgiving with her family's support. Sherry actually went with her, and the rest of her family stayed back in Louisiana to begin with. And a month later, Addison was one of the founding members of the Hype House. Now, we all know what the Hype House is, but if you really are unfamiliar, it was one of the biggest content houses to ever exist. I don't want to say the first because Team 10 was there. However, it was the first TikTok content house, and with the platform so new, there was this market for teenagers kind of living in a house and creating content together that was untapped, because Team 10 was Jake Paul and it was like these extreme stunts, but the Hype House was really pared down. It was just teen influencers living life, and their audience really wanted to see it. But the other founding members were, of course, Charlie and Dixie D'Amelio, Lil Huddy or Chase Hudson, and then Thomas Petro, who actually was in the Team 10 house. He was the creative genius or mastermind behind this house. He had known how it worked, and with this new group of TikTokers, he really was able to form a group of super viral creators that everyone cared about on the platform at that time, threw them under one roof and said, like, you guys have fun. Really looking back, the Hype House was a social experiment. It is so crazy that we all cared that much about what these people were doing at the time. time. I was in college. I was living for the drama. I was wanting to know like who was with who was doing what. I loved the content because I was just like, this is so random and like so crazy that it became such a pop culture moment, honestly. They were raking in millions of dollars from brands. They were working with TikTok. They were living the life. They were teens getting paid a ton of money in LA with like no responsibility. They could do what they wanted. And this is where we get some of Addison's best content, which in my opinion is like her random videos that went viral. So one of them was when she's like on this bus and someone's reminding her to stay hydrated, but she thought they said, say hydrated, like say hi to someone named Drated. So she goes, hydrated. I'll include the video here.
Addison, stay hydrated.
Hi.
No.
Hydrated.
Hydrated.
Hydrated? What? She doesn't call hydrated. I thought you said hydrated.
But that is something I think about very frequently. Of course, another is boyfriend, I'm nervous.
1 to 10, how attractive am I?
Boyfriend, I'm nervous.
Then we have I Need a Bad Bleep, Addison Rae. Lil Shawty's the baddest. Yeah, she got her ways. This is really special to me because I'm Addison Rae.
I need a bad bleep. Addison Rae. Lil Shawty the baddest. Yeah, and she got her ways. So these lyrics are obviously very heartfelt to me because I am Addison Rae.
And lastly, when like fans are coming up to her outside of a restaurant in LA and she's like, wait, hold on guys, can I make this TikTok first? And she like has them stand off to the side while she films a dance. And then she's like, okay, now I can take a photo. Camp.
Oh yeah, of course. Here, let me do this TikTok really quick. Yeah, I'll get out of it.
I love that Addison does make fun of herself in like these old videos. There have been times where she's poked fun at it, where she did like the restaurant TikTok thing with Maddie Ziegler. And I love a creator who can like look back at their older moments and just laugh because they're just kind of ridiculous. And Addison owns up to that. She's like, I was a kid in LA, like I was just like having fun. So I applaud her for that. After the first few months of her glamorous LA life, the rest of her family came out to join her, and they did get a family home. However, this was also the beginning of COVID, which of course made everything shut down. And with the world kind of coming to a halt, and also not really knowing what the future of this platform was going to hold, Addison knew that she really had to strike while the iron was hot, and she started meeting with talent managers because she knew that she didn't want to make money on social media forever. She wanted to act, sing, dance, all of it. So she started working with 2 agents, Joe Izzy and Justin Greenberg, who I believe still are working with her today. But pretty quickly, she was able to book the Netflix original movie He's All That, which was a gender-swapped version of She's All That. She played the high school influencer who had to make over the art nerd in this sort of bet. She also started to book songwriting sessions around the same time because she really felt like she wanted to hit the ground running. She explained that she arrived pretty late in the game when it comes to people in the entertainment industry. She was 18 when she got to LA and already felt like she was behind. And so she wanted to expose herself to as many things as possible while she had the opportunity to do so. And I feel like that's super smart. And as I had mentioned earlier, she knew that she wanted to do music in some capacity, and even said in a Rolling Stone interview that crossing over was always part of her plan. But March of 2021, she released her first song, Obsessed. If you were on the internet at this time, you know that this song got torn to shreds. And let me just say, I was there on the front lines defending Addison because there was something in that song that I found, and I saw a star there. I saw the music video, I know that she can dance, but I knew that she was working and she wanted it. And honestly, from that day on, I have been defending her music because I knew that she was going to do something great. In its essence, it was really a cookie cutter pop song that was produced by Benny Blanco. It didn't have much commercial success. It didn't have much critical acclaim. Critics actually just told her to go back to making dances on the internet when she released that song, but she persevered. Nevertheless, she persisted. That same month, she was actually on Jimmy Fallon where she did a performance of Obsessed, and then she did that TikTok dancing segment. And again, like, she got ripped to shreds. The TikTok dancing segment, people did not like that. People also were so annoyed that she was able to book a late night television show as a TikToker. And the criticism didn't stop there because He's All That came out in August, where a lot of people on the internet were coming for her performance. But again, I saw that movie in full. I did not think she was that bad. Critics actually said that she was the best part of a horrific movie. I thought it was like fun. I didn't think that it like held a candle to the original. but I like saw what they were trying to do. It's a Netflix original. I didn't expect it to reinvent the wheel. So I actually thought that her acting was fine. She does have this moment where she sings Teenage Dream by Katy Perry. And that like is such a funny scene. But again, I'm seeing the performance chops of Miss Addison Rae on Netflix in 2021 and I'm ready for more. Also that trip to New York when she was on Jimmy Fallon, she took that paparazzi photo with that like hairspray face shield over her mouth as a mask. And honestly, it was camp. I know that it was so tone deaf, especially at the time, but like looking back, her face card is absolutely absurd. It is so crazy good. And I don't know, like in that moment, I'm like, that is a star. Because I just feel like that would be something Britney would have done during COVID. It's like a Lana Del Rey mesh mask moment. So I don't know. I loved this photo, honestly. I do realize that it was tone deaf, but looking back, camp. However, with all of this negativity swirling around, Addison said that she really had to rethink the future of her career. She questioned how she'd be able to carve a space for herself in this industry and be confident in what she's putting out if people weren't even giving her the chance to be creative. She felt like no matter what she was doing at the time, people were ragging on it just because it was her, which is partly true. And she wanted to deliver the best version of her work, but didn't really know how to because people were just upset that it was Addison Rae doing it. So she went back to the drawing board and really got to work after those negative moments. She pulled back from TikTok, not posting every day. She used to post multiple videos a day and then really toned down the amount that she was putting out there and got in the studio, started doing a lot of songwriting sessions, and that's actually where she met Charli XCX. They met at a studio in West Hollywood. They had a really quick interaction to begin with where they both felt super comfortable with each other right off the bat, and from then on, they really vibed and became close. It was in that first studio session where Addison played Charli to Die For, and Charli loved that song. We'll get back to that later. This was the beginning process of her creating her debut album. However, it ended up getting shelved because she booked Thanksgiving, which was a slasher that came out, I believe, 2 Thanksgivings ago. And then she also started a Snapchat reality show titled Addison Goes Home. So she stopped working on music so she could do those 2 projects. And it was during the filming where rough demos of those songs actually started to get leaked on TikTok. Again, if you were online, you remember this moment because people were honestly so gagged that they were Addison Rae songs. Songs like To Die For, Nothing On But the Radio, and more started showing up on TikTok, and Addison still to this day does not know how they got there. She was disheartened that her demos got stolen because again, at that time, she didn't actually know if she was going to end up using them or not. But looking back, she's like, everything happens for a reason. It still makes me sad that someone stole what I was working on, but again, it was what it was and I had to move on. But Charli actually texted Addison after To Die For leaked, and that is when she asked to do the verse. So Addison was thinking to herself, you know, maybe there is a way to salvage these things and put them out in the world with like a little bit of mixing, mastering, and some twists to keep people engaged. Which is when she decided to actually put out the AR EP, which was her first big project. It included all of those leaked songs, including To Die For, Nothing On But the Radio, I Got It Bad, It Could Have Been You. And people honestly loved it. I will say Nothing On But the Radio was a scrapped Gaga song that she recorded for Born This Way. It never made the album. Then Addison or someone on her team bought it. I love that. I think a lot of OG Little Monsters remember that demo and they heard Addison sing it and they liked her rendition. So she was able to bring in some new fans with this project. Again, I was there on the front lines. I was saying Addison Rae is going to be a pop princess. You guys just wait. Because I was streaming the AR EP every single day when it came out. It was around this time where Addison actually did an interview with Vogue and talked about how this was going to be a stepping stone into her music career. She wants to fully have control over what she puts out, and this felt like the close of one chapter and the beginning of another because she kind of had her hand forced a little bit with the leak, but then capitalized on it by ending up releasing it, because some artists, when they have a leaked album, will choose not to release it because the world's already heard it. But Addison was like, you know, everything happens for a reason. I'll put it out, especially with the Charli verse. It has something a little different than the leaks themselves. So I want to give the fans what they want because those leaked demos were going so viral. And I, again, stand by that decision as well. I think that was really smart of Addison to do. Despite this EP being out and going viral, there was no music label that was chomping at the bit to sign her until she ended up meeting with the CEO of Columbia Records, Ron Perry, who she actually knew from her boyfriend, who is a producer. Addison showed up to the meeting with a binder and a full presentation deck with pictures, word clouds, and just kind of a general vibe of how she wanted to describe her music career. She had no new demos to play, but she really had conceptualized what she wanted this project to look like and her aura as an artist.
What was on the mood board?
It was a lot of words, you know, even just simple as intentional, intense, loud, dance, glitter, heart.
And Ron was so impressed that he decided to sign her in early 2024, and then they immediately started working on her debut album. Around the same time, Charli XCX also reached back out for Addison to come on the Von Dutch remix, which was a really pivotal moment in Addison's career. Addison was sending lyrics back and forth, and Charli was like, I really like these, please be confident in what you're putting out and include that in the song because you have strong ideas, you're super creative, and you should stick to your guns. And that is something that Addison has said has stuck with her throughout this entire creative process of creating Addison, her debut album. Early 2024, alongside the Von Dutch remix, she started writing her own songs, going back into the songwriting sessions, meeting with two songwriters, Luca Closure and Elvira Anderfald. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that right, but they're signed to Max Martin's publishing company. And if you're into music at all, you know Max Martin is like the pinnacle of pop music. He's worked with Ariana, Britney, Katy Perry, Taylor Swift, like so many insane artists. But the three actually worked on Diet Pepsi together and honestly never looked back. After that point, they co-wrote the entire album, the three of them. While they were working in the Swedish office, Max Martin would come say hi, and Addison Rae, of course, who is a huge Britney fan, is so like shell-shocked every time she talks about her interactions with Max. But there was one day where he gave her a lot of really good advice about being open and honest in your songs. Addison found it hard in the beginning of the process to really open up and write about things that were close to her chest. And he said, you need to be truthful in your music because authenticity is so important in this industry. After working for months, in June of 2024, Addison finally began to tease her debut project with a video of her walking underwater in stilettos to what we now know is Aquamarine. However, she always knew that the lead single was going to be Diet Pepsi. It was the first song that they worked on for the album, and she felt like it was a really, really strong start, which I agree. So in August, she put Diet Pepsi out and marked her first entry on the Billboard Hot 100, and it was a smash hit, honestly. Critics were so shocked that she was able to come up with this song. I love Diet Pepsi. I think it was the strongest single for her to start out with. It has this like early Lana Del Rey vintage vibe to it. That's like the only way I can really describe it. It feels nostalgic. I think also coupled with the visuals, that's where I really am getting like a Lana Del Rey Born to Die moment. But it was really, really strong and people were loving it. It brought in a ton of new fans to Addison's music and this world that she started creating for AR1. She followed it up with Aquamarine, which was a completely different sound. It had this like Europop, trance-like nature to it. And I also felt like Aquamarine was a super strong song. Even though it didn't have the same reception as Diet Pepsi, I still felt like people were starting to finally understand what Addison was creating and how she actually has so much talent in this space. Fun fact, this was actually around the time where Addison met Ariana Grande for the first time, and Ariana was so complimentary about Aquamarine. She was also using it on her Instagram stories as well as Diet Pepsi. So like having a cosign from Ariana Grande is like so everything. I think that gave Addison a lot of confidence moving forward. The third single, High Fashion, was released on Valentine's Day of this year. I loved this track as well. It was again something different than what she had done in the first two singles. And even though it didn't chart, people were still really complimentary and really getting what Addison was trying to do with all of this. I think for a while, people thought that she was a joke, but then having a great 3-single run, people were finally starting to take notice, and not just like casual fans, but also people in the music industry and other music artists. Addison then made her Coachella debut in April. She performed twice, one with Arca, who did a remix of Aquamarine titled Arca Marine during weekend 1, and then weekend 2, she came out during Charli XCX's set to sing the Von Dutch remix, which was the biggest crowd that she's ever played in front of, and I loved this so much. Like, it was such good album promo, and the fact that like she had a song with Charli XCX that was a part of like the Brat world, which became such an insane moment in pop culture, I think also helped a lot to bring new fans into listening to her solo music. After that, she released Headphones On, which is the most recent single and debuted at 87 on the Hot 100. This song is really about putting your headphones on and tuning out the outside world, the hardships and the things that you go through as a young adult. It's a way to quiet the noise, and this felt like Addison's most personal song to date. There were lyrics about her parents getting divorced and her trying to kind of escape that. It also gave us a different taste of what she could do sonically. And at this point, people were begging for the album announcement. Just a few weeks later, we finally got it, where Addison unveiled that Addison the album will be coming out on June 6th. This album cover to me was everything because I feel nostalgia when I listen to Addison Rae's music. There's so many 90s and early 2000s influences. It truly feels like a vibe. Like, I totally understand what she means when she says that she goes into this meeting with a binder full of like word clouds and mood boards to present her music. It's like, that is what she's creating in my head. Like, I can see it. And this album cover feels like a visual manifestation of that, because there's so many other early 2000s album covers that remind me of this Addison one, but I'm just obsessed with it. Also, she does include that this is the first and last album by Addison Rae, which to me seems like she's soft launching a change to just Addison. She also talked about it in an Elle interview that she's going to drop the Rae because it feels like a TikTok persona versus her artist persona, which again, I totally understand, but I think it's also smart to wait till her first album is out to make that change. The track list took a little bit longer to be revealed, but just a few days ago, all 12 track names were revealed. In a fun way, there were advertisements put up in different cities across the world showing one track name, and then people eventually put them all together. And once we had 12, fans were making a mock track list to then post on social media until Addison could release the final one. At this point, we have heard 4. By the time this video comes out, she will have released her 5th single, Fame is a Gun, that is coming out this Friday. I'm recording this like 2 days before this because I want to make sure that it's up before the album comes out. But that one I'm claiming. As soon as the track list came out, I was like, Fame is a Gun is going to be a song that I would love to listen to. It's giving me Sympathy is a Knife, which is one of my favorite songs on Brat. So I cannot wait for that one. And if you've heard it, let me know what you think in the comments. But throughout this rollout, so many artists have been posting Addison and really praising her for her musicality and the way that she's been creating these songs. Like, of course, Charlie XCX, but also Rosalia has said nothing but great things about Addison. Ariana Grande, Hayley Williams from Paramore, Phineas, Billie Eilish, the list goes on. Every single time she has a release, it feels like more and more artists are taking note of Miss Addison Rae, and I'm so grateful for that. As we head into this album release, I'm going to speak my truth. I am so ready for this. I think Addison has curated this sort of like nostalgic vibe in her music, and she truly is a student of pop music. She picks and chooses references that are honestly super unique, and also is kind of an expert at meshing them in her music without them seeming like full copies of songs. It becomes really easy these days to take inspiration from an older song and your new song is kind of a copy and paste of that. But with Addison, I really feel like that is not the case. She is taking the best elements of her favorite songs and her inspirations, like a Britney, like a Madonna, and weaving them into her own world. She's also curated this persona for herself where the outfits, the things that she says in interviews, the photo shoots, they all kind of work together. And I've been intrigued this entire rollout. It's been going on for almost an entire year. She dropped that snippet in June of 2024. The album's coming out June of 2025. And in order for people to pay attention for that long, you always have to be doing fun, creative, inventive, and unique things. And that is what I feel like Addison has been doing this whole time. 5 singles coming out before an album, all sounding super, super different and really letting us into this world of Addison Rae. And I have been along for the ride. I cannot wait for this album to come out. And I had to do this deep dive because I'm so fascinated with her rebrand. And I know a lot of other people are as well. So I wanted to really hop on this train and give you guys this deep dive before the album came out. I really want your thoughts on this entire thing. How she went from a small town Louisiana girl to one of the most talked about artists who, in my opinion, is going to get a Best New Artist nomination at the 2026 Grammys. My next video is going to be the best thing that you guys have ever seen. I'm so excited to do it, and I need you guys to stay tuned. So please like, comment, subscribe, send to your friends. I don't care. Love you all. Have the best week. Bye.